Ladies and gentlemen, Snapshot 22w43a has arrived with lots of bug fixes, a new Camel walk cycle, and new things in the creative inventory. My name is SliceLime. Let's get into a full look of all these changes, starting with the gameplay. You can now use a shield against the damage from explosions from TNT and crystals, Ghast fireballs, and beds and respawn anchors. Water now applies when inside a boat, which means you'll now get extinguished if you're on fire underwater in a boat, and the mobs that take damage from water will now take damage even while in a boat. Splash water bottles can also be used to extinguish entities on fire. If you destroy the top part of a tall seagrass, the bottom block would become air rather than water. That is fixed in this version. And fence gates no longer provide support for hanging blocks in their center. This snapshot also comes with a bunch of follow-up fixes and tweaks to the creative mode changes in the previous snapshot, fixing a bunch of blocks that were not properly grouped and adding some items like water bottles and tipped arrows that didn't appear in the creative inventory at all. Some new items are also available in the creative inventory. Ominous banners and dragon eggs can now be found in the functional blocks tab, and spawner blocks can now be found in the spawn eggs tab. The icons of the tabs in the creative inventory have been changed, and the Nature Blocks tab has been renamed to Natural Blocks. In news for the experimental blocks, let me begin with one feature of hanging signs that I missed in the previous video. If you sneak while placing a hanging sign under a block, the sign will be placed in the V-shaped mode, which means you can be turned in one of 16 directions rather than 4. The recipes for acacia and birch hanging signs were also missing, which is fixed in this version. Line spacing on hanging signs has been fixed so characters no longer blend in between lines, and entities no longer get stuck on them and spin wildly. There was also a bug that let experimental blocks be brought into non-experimental worlds using the saved hotbars feature, which is also fixed. We've got more things to walk through still, but before we do that, please make sure you bring in a non-experimental click on the like button for this video. Thanks, I really appreciate that. In news about mobs, Endermen holding big drip leaf stems now drop the drip leaf when killed. Some mobs would lose some data when they were unloaded. This included villagers who could lose the discount if they were unloaded in the zombie villager form, and allays, piglins and villagers all losing the contents of their inventory when unloaded. All of that is fixed in this version. Also news for the experimental camels. Their walk cycle has now changed to more resemble the way real camels walk. This also fixes a Z-fighting issue when their legs intersected. If a camel was sitting and you reloaded the world, they now start out sitting rather than starting out standing and then immediately sitting down when you load back in. And the colors of the camel spawn egg have also changed in this snapshot. In user interface news, the setting for the new panorama scroll speed option is now properly saved, and the problem has been fixed where some language strings were merged, causing translation issues for some languages. Speaking of languages, 2 new ones have been added, Nahuatl and Rusi. In chat news, the chat reporting screen now shows when the player being reported rejoined chat, and player reports in progress can now be saved as drafts when closing the reporting screen. Such drafts are kept until you leave the server you were playing on. As for sounds, the sounds of goats stomping and ramming are now controlled by the friendly creature's volume slider like the rest of the goat sounds. There are also new sounds for camels walking and walking on sand. In stability news, the game no longer crashes if you try to teleport to a player using the spectator mode hotbar, and several other crashes have been fixed involving custom data in world generation or world upgrades. In technical news, a couple of problems with entity data have been fixed, where the angry at field of Endermen couldn't be set using a command, and mobs would corrupt if you set their death time to more than 20 ticks. For modding, the linear algebra types have been switched to use the Java OpenGL Math Library, or JOML, and there are a number of changes to the network protocol regarding how players and chat sessions are handled. In the pack format, there's also a fix for a discrepancy in which characters the game allowed in paths and which are allowed in IDs. That wraps up the changes for Minecraft 22w43a. My name is SliceLime, thank you for watching, I'll see you next time.